What giant are you facing today? Maybe it's a mountain of debt, a diagnosis that shook your faith, a broken relationship, a door that just won't open, or a fear that won't let you move forward. We all face giants, and no, they don't wear armor or carry swords like Goliath did, but they shout just as loud. They try to intimidate, paralyze, and convince you that you're too small, too weak, too late. But here's the truth. If David defeated Goliath, you can defeat your giants too. David's story isn't just an old Bible tale, it's a spiritual blueprint, a manual for overcoming what looks impossible. What God did with David, He can still do today, and in this message, you'll discover the 5 powerful secrets David used that still work for anyone who dares to believe. David wasn't a warrior. He wasn't trained, celebrated, or chosen by men. In fact, he was overlooked by his own family and doubted by his king. But what others didn't see, God saw. And what made the difference wasn't David's strength, it was his faith. In 1 Samuel 17:45, it says, David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord, Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." David didn't rely on his abilities or status. He relied on his identity in God. He didn't compare himself to Goliath. He compared Goliath to God. And that perspective changed everything. So here's the question. What if you applied the same principles David used in your life today? What if you stopped running from the giant and started moving toward it with faith, confidence, and divine backing? In this video, we'll break down the 5 spiritual strategies David used to defeat the impossible. These aren't just religious ideas. These are proven principles, bold, practical, and rooted in truth. No matter how big the challenge, when you step forward in faith, what seemed impossible begins to crumble. You're not here by accident. The Holy Spirit is speaking to your spirit, reminding you of who you are, what you carry, and who fights with you. And to activate this moment of faith, I invite you to write in the comments a declaration of victory. I slay giants. Say it out loud. Type it below. This isn't just a cute phrase, it's a spiritual decree. And when you speak it with faith, you shift the atmosphere around you. Your words carry weight in the spiritual realm. You're about to go on a journey that could transform the way you face challenges for the rest of your life. Each of these 5 secrets is a spiritual weapon. And the first one has nothing to do with what's in your hands. It starts with who you know you are. The first key to victory is something Goliath never expected, and something David never doubted. Spiritual identity. The first secret that gave David victory over Goliath was something invisible, something internal. It wasn't strength, strategy, or skill. It was his spiritual identity. While the entire army of Israel saw a towering giant, David saw something else. He saw a man who dared to defy the God of Israel. David's perspective wasn't shaped by fear or intimidation. It was shaped by his relationship with God and the deep awareness of who he was in the Spirit. David didn't approach the battlefield thinking about his lack of armor or his inexperience. He wasn't focused on what he didn't have. He was anchored in what he did have, a covenant with the living God. In 1 Samuel 17:45 it says, David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." That statement wasn't just brave, it was spiritually loaded. David knew exactly who was backing him. He understood that when you're aligned with God, you're not the one fighting, He is. And when God fights for you, nothing can stand against you. So let me ask you, do you know who's backing you? Do you know who walks into every battle with you? Because if you forget your spiritual identity, you'll live intimidated. You'll let giants talk louder than your faith. You'll settle for survival instead of victory. But when you truly know who you are in Christ, you stop retreating and start advancing. In Romans 8:31 it says, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" This verse isn't meant to be a motivational slogan. It's a spiritual truth that should shape the way you think, speak, and live. David didn't walk out to fight Goliath with fear. He walked out with authority. Not because of his size, but because of his identity. Maybe right now you're facing something that seems too big for you. Maybe you feel unqualified, overlooked, or exhausted. But let me remind you, God doesn't choose people based on their resume. He chooses based on their heart. David didn't have credentials. He had conviction. And that conviction came from spending time in the presence of God. Your identity isn't rooted in your performance, your past, or your pain. Your identity is rooted in who God says you are. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are not defeated. You are a child of the King, equipped, empowered, and backed by heaven. And that truth needs to become louder than any lie the enemy throws at you. Giants love to shout. They love to intimidate. But when you know who you are, their words lose power. You stop listening to fear, and you start listening to faith. You stop shrinking back and start standing up. Because God didn't give you a spirit of fear, He gave you a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. David's greatest weapon wasn't in his hand. It was in his heart. His courage didn't come from the crowd. It came from his confidence in God. He remembered the private victories, the times when God helped him defeat a lion and a bear, the moments no one saw, but God did. That built his confidence. That shaped his identity. Maybe you're in a quiet season right now. Maybe no one sees what you're going through or what you're fighting for. But know this, God sees it. And just like He was preparing David in secret, He's preparing you. Don't let your current situation cause you to forget your eternal position. You are not just fighting a battle. You are walking in your calling. And when you walk in your identity, giants fall. So how do you apply this secret in your life today? Start by declaring who you are, even when you don't feel it. Speak the truth out loud. Say, God is with me. I am not alone. I am more than a conqueror. Let your identity lead your decisions. Don't shrink back. Don't compare yourself. Don't borrow someone else's armor. Stand in who God made you to be. David didn't need to be someone else to win, and neither do you. You are not underpowered. You are not unqualified. You are exactly who God chose for such a time as this. Now that you've discovered the power of spiritual identity, get ready to uncover David's second secret, the one no one saw coming. It happened long before the battle. It was hidden from the crowds, and it was the reason David could stand strong when the giant appeared. The second secret that empowered David to defeat Goliath is something most people miss: silent preparation. Before David ever stood in front of a crowd, before he ever saw Goliath, before anyone recognized him as a warrior, he had already fought and won battles in secret. No cameras, no crowds, no applause, just David, his sheep, and a God who was preparing him for something greater. When King Saul questioned David's ability to fight the giant, David didn't hesitate. He remembered where his training began, not on a battlefield but in the pastures. In 1 Samuel 17:34-36 it says, "But David said to Saul, 'Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them.'" David was saying, "This isn't my first fight. It's just the first one you're seeing." The battles that qualified him to face Goliath weren't public. They were private. And that's a word for someone today. Your preparation in the unseen places is not wasted. God sees it all. Bob Proctor once said, "The discipline you practice in private builds the life you live in public." That's exactly what we see in David's life. He didn't magically become courageous the day he faced Goliath. That courage was developed in silence. It was cultivated in the quiet places where no one was watching, but God was. And that's where true strength is built. Maybe you're in a season right now that feels hidden. You're doing the right thing, working hard, showing up, praying faithfully, and no one seems to notice. But I want to tell you, God notices. Every private victory is preparing you for something public. Every quiet moment of obedience is building something powerful in your spirit. David's training ground was a field, not a stage. His preparation wasn't glamorous, but it was essential. And when the opportunity came, he didn't have to fake strength. He had already been forged in it. So many people want public success without private preparation. They want the results David had without the process David went through. But in the kingdom of God, process always comes before promotion. Before you conquer giants, you must conquer yourself, your fears, your doubts, your distractions in the secret place. God develops leaders in obscurity. He tests character in silence. He strengthens your heart when there's no one to impress, only Him. So don't despise the season you're in. It's not a punishment, it's a process, and it's leading somewhere greater than you can imagine. Let me ask you, what lion or bear are you facing right now? What quiet battle are you fighting that no one sees? The good news is, God is using it. He's training you for more. He's teaching your hands to fight and your heart to trust. Don't give up. This season matters more than you think. If this message is speaking to your heart, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're building a community of faith, encouragement, and purpose, and we'd love to walk with you on this journey. Help spread this message to someone else who needs it. And every subscriber helps this family of faith grow stronger. David didn't need to prove himself. He didn't need validation from Saul or his brothers. He already knew who he was, and he trusted the God who had been with him in private to show up in public. That kind of confidence doesn't come from crowds. It comes from communion with God. So be encouraged. You're not being overlooked. You're being refined. You're not in the wrong place. You're in the right process. And when the time comes, you won't have to force the door open. You'll walk through it with the quiet authority of someone who's been tested and found faithful. The second secret of David teaches us that giants don't fall by accident. They fall before people who've been prepared by God in silence. And if you're in that silent season right now, don't quit. Stay faithful. God is not done with you. Now, we're about to unlock the third secret, and it's a powerful one. Because if your heart is aligned and your preparation is strong, your words become weapons. And David knew exactly how to use his. The third secret David used to defeat Goliath wasn't just what he believed. It was what he spoke. Long before he threw a stone, David used his words like a weapon. And those words weren't weak, doubtful, or uncertain. They were bold, clear, and full of faith. David didn't wait until after the battle to speak victory. He declared it before it even began. In 1 Samuel 17:46 it says, "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel." David didn't speak as if victory was possible. He spoke as if it was already done. He wasn't hoping, he wasn't guessing, he was declaring. And that declaration set the tone for what would happen next. This is the power of faith-filled speech. Your words shape your world. What you say reveals what you truly believe, and what you consistently speak begins to create the atmosphere you live in, emotionally, spiritually, and even practically. In Proverbs 18:21 it says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." That's not poetry. That's spiritual law. Words carry spiritual weight. They are seeds that produce fruit. Every time you open your mouth, you're planting something. The question is, are you planting fear or faith, defeat or victory, doubt or trust? Many people talk themselves out of breakthroughs. They reinforce fear with their language. I'm not good enough. This will never work. Things always go wrong for me. I'm just not strong enough. But David teaches us something different. Speak faith even before you see the result. His words went ahead of him and cut down the giant before the stone ever did. This is what real faith looks like, not just thinking positively, but declaring God's truth over your situation out loud. Not denying reality, but boldly announcing a higher truth. That's what David did. He acknowledged there was a giant, but he also declared the giant was already defeated. Here's the principle: if you want to win battles, you must learn to talk like a victor. Let me be clear, this isn't magic. This isn't about reciting phrases to manipulate God. This is about aligning your mouth with your faith, because when your heart believes and your words agree, something powerful happens in the spiritual realm. When was the last time you heard yourself speak victory? When was the last time you prophesied over your life instead of complaining about it? You don't need to wait for everything to be perfect to start speaking life. Do it now. Say, God is with me. I am more than a conqueror. My breakthrough is coming. This challenge will not defeat me. I slay giants by faith. This is what David did. He used his mouth to declare the will of God before it was visible. And that kind of speech creates momentum. It silences fear. It builds faith, not only in you, but in those around you. Sometimes your greatest spiritual weapon won't be your strength. It will be your voice. The enemy doesn't fear your plans. He fears your declarations made in faith, because that's where the power is. David knew the truth. What you say in the face of fear determines what you'll see on the other side of it. So don't wait until the victory comes to start talking like you've won. Speak it now. Live it now. Declare it now. Even modern thinkers acknowledge this. Psychologists speak of the power of affirmations. Coaches teach people to speak success. But long before it became a strategy, it was a spiritual principle. And David lived it out in front of an entire army. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You need to believe what you say. You need to speak with authority, even if your knees are shaking, because your words don't just echo, they build. Right now, I encourage you to take inventory of your language. What are you saying about your future, your calling, your challenges, your identity? Are you talking like a victim or like a victor? Make a shift today. Let your language reflect your faith, not your fear. Let your declarations prepare the ground for what you know God is about to do, because sometimes your voice will swing before your sling does. In the next part, we'll explore how David didn't just talk like a winner, he moved like one. He didn't wait for the giant to attack, he ran straight toward him, and that decision changed everything. The fourth secret in David's victory over Goliath is where faith became action. David didn't just believe God would deliver him, he acted on that belief. And not just with cautious steps or hesitation. He made a bold, fearless move that shocked everyone watching. He ran straight toward the giant. That's right. While the rest of the army froze, David advanced. In 1 Samuel 17:48 it says, "As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him." This wasn't reckless. It wasn't foolish. It was faith in motion. And that's a principle many people forget. Real faith doesn't just speak. It moves. David didn't wait for the giant to get closer. He didn't wait for another sign. He didn't stall hoping someone else would do it. He made the first move. This is one of the most important truths in the journey of faith. You can't just believe, you have to act. In James 2:17 it says, "Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead." Many people say they believe, but stay still. They pray, but never move. They talk about change, but wait for the perfect moment to start. David shows us something powerful. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take the first step, even while you're still afraid. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it. David wasn't naive. He knew the risk, but he also knew the promise. And when your faith is bigger than your fear, movement becomes possible. What are you avoiding right now? What decision are you hesitating to make because of what might happen? What challenge have you been circling around, hoping it will just disappear? Giants don't fall by themselves. They fall when you confront them. David understood that the longer you wait, the louder the giant seems. Fear grows in silence. But when you move, even just one step, heaven moves with you. God blesses movement. He multiplies obedience. The miracle doesn't always come before the step. Often, the miracle comes because of it. David didn't get a guarantee that the stone would hit. He simply trusted that it would, and he ran. This is how victories happen, when your actions align with your faith. Bold action doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's applying for that job, starting the ministry, making the phone call, forgiving someone who hurt you, saying yes to what God already told you to do. It's the obedience that breaks the cycle of delay, and just like David, your bold move might be the trigger that sets everything in motion. Sometimes your step of faith doesn't just change your life, it inspires others. When David ran toward Goliath, he broke the spirit of fear in the army of Israel. One bold action can awaken courage in people around you, and your example might be what someone else needs to move forward too. Let this be the moment you stop waiting and start walking. Don't wait for every detail to make sense. Don't wait for every voice to agree. Don't wait until you feel ready. Move when God says move. That's what David did. And remember, this isn't about striving. It's about trusting. David didn't run because he was confident in himself. He ran because he was confident in God. If you've been hesitating, delaying, procrastinating, take this as your sign. It's time to act, even if it's one small step, even if it's uncomfortable. Even if you don't know exactly how it ends, the battlefield belongs to those who move when others stay still. And faith without action is just theory. But faith with action opens the door to the miraculous. Your breakthrough is often waiting on the other side of bold obedience. So ask yourself today, what has God already told me to do that I've been delaying? And what would change if I did it now? Not next week, not someday, but now. You don't have to see the whole plan to take the next step. You just have to trust the one who gave you the promise. And when you move, don't tiptoe, don't crawl, don't sneak. Run like David, run in faith. Because you're not running toward defeat, you're running toward destiny. Now, get ready for the final secret, one that will completely shift the way you see yourself and what you already have. Because David didn't win with what he didn't have. He won with what was already in his hands. The final secret in David's victory is both simple and profound, and it might be the one that changes everything for you. David didn't win with something new. He won with something familiar. He didn't borrow someone else's weapon. He didn't rely on a tool he didn't know how to use. He used what was already in his hands. When King Saul tried to help, he offered David his royal armor. But David didn't try to become someone he wasn't. In 1 Samuel 17:39-40, it says, David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and, with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. David didn't win because of his strength. He won because of his authenticity. He wasn't trying to impress. He was focused on being faithful. He believed God could use what was already in his hands. And that's the message for you. You don't need more to be victorious. You need to trust what God has already given you. In Exodus 4:2 it says, "Then the Lord said to him, 'What is that in your hand?' 'Nar, a staff,' he replied. God asked Moses that question at a time when Moses felt unqualified, unsure, and afraid. But that staff, ordinary and simple, would be the tool God used to part the Red Sea and bring miracles to a nation. Just like David's sling, it wasn't about the object, it was about the obedience. What do you have in your hands right now that you've been overlooking? Your words, your story, your creativity, your skills, your testimony, your time, your voice, your calling. You may think it's too small, too simple, too ordinary. But when you put it in the hands of God, it becomes a weapon of victory. Too many people are waiting for a better opportunity or a bigger platform. But the truth is, what you do with what you already have is what opens the door for more. David's victory didn't come from new tools, it came from old trust. He had used that sling before. He knew how it worked. He had practiced with it in secret. And when the moment came, he didn't need to upgrade. He just needed to use it with faith. So what does that mean for you? Stop comparing. Stop waiting for more. Stop disqualifying yourself because your gift doesn't look like someone else's. God doesn't need you to be them. He needs you to be you, fully surrendered. The enemy wants to convince you that what you have isn't enough. But God is saying, I gave you everything you need. It's in your hands. And when you give it back to me, I'll use it for my glory. So today, look again. What's in your hand? What's that thing you've been minimizing or ignoring? That's the very thing God may want to use to defeat your giant. You don't need a sword. You don't need someone else's armor. You need to believe that God placed something inside you on purpose and for a purpose. And here's the miracle. Your sling plus God's power, more than enough. If this message is speaking to you right now, if it's reminding you of something you've left dormant, like this video, and share it with someone else who needs it. There's someone you know who has been waiting for everything to be perfect before taking a step. This message might be their sign that what they have is already enough. Be the one who helps awaken that truth in others. Share the message. It could be the sling that takes down someone else's giant. David didn't defeat Goliath by trying to be like Saul. He won by trusting God, staying true to himself, and using what was already in his hands. You can do the same. It's not about having more. It's about doing more with what you already have. When you move in faith, even a stone becomes a supernatural weapon. Now that you've discovered the 5 powerful secrets David used to defeat his giant, it's time to put them together. In the final part, we'll recap the journey and release a powerful reminder. If David won his battle, you can win yours too. You've just walked through one of the most powerful stories ever told. Not just because of what happened in the valley that day, but because of what it still speaks to us right now. The battle between David and Goliath is not just history, it's a spiritual template. And now you know this truth. If David defeated Goliath, you can defeat your giants too. David's story proves that victory doesn't require perfect conditions, it requires a heart that believes, a life surrendered, a person willing to stand up when everyone else backs down. And that person can be you. Let's recap the 5 spiritual secrets David used, the same ones available to you right now. Spiritual identity, David knew exactly who was backing him. He didn't rely on his own strength. He trusted the God who had never failed him. Silent preparation. Before anyone ever saw him fight, David was winning battles in the secret place. He was trained in silence, strengthened by private obedience. The language of faith. David declared victory before the battle even began. He spoke like a champion, aligning his words with God's power. Bold action. David didn't wait. He ran toward the giant. His faith had feet. His belief became motion. Use what's in your hand. David didn't need something new. He used what he already had. And with God's power, a stone was all it took. These aren't just points in a week sermon, they are spiritual weapons. And now, They're in your hands. The same God who stood with David is standing with you. The same Spirit that strengthened him is within you. But here's the key. You have to believe it. You have to stop shrinking. Stop apologizing. Stop letting fear speak louder than faith. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too small. In 2 Corinthians 12:9 it says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." God doesn't need you to be strong. He just needs you to be willing. He will use your weakness. He will work through your faith. He will show up when you step forward. Right now, there's a giant in your life that's been trying to silence your voice. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's shame. Maybe it's a pattern that keeps repeating, but today, something is shifting. You've been reminded that you are not fighting alone. You have spiritual identity. You've been prepared. Even if it was in silence, you can speak with faith. You can move with boldness. And you already have everything you need in your hands. This is your moment to activate that truth. So before you go, take one more step of faith. Type this declaration in the comments as a prophetic and spiritual agreement. I slay giants. Write it, say it, believe it. Let it be more than a phrase. Let it be your reality. You're not stuck. You're not defeated. You are being called to rise, to fight, to trust, and to walk in victory. And if this message has spoken to your spirit, if it reminded you of who you really are, subscribe to the channel right now. This is more than content. This is a movement of faith, truth, and breakthrough. And you're meant to be part of it. By subscribing, you're saying yes to ongoing transformation. You're surrounding yourself with encouragement, with truth, with teaching that aligns your life with purpose. This is a space for spiritual growth and deep activation. Don't just pass through. Join the family. Let this be your turning point. Not just a moment of emotion, but a moment of decision. You were made to live with power. You were designed to carry victory. The giant in front of you is not bigger than the God within you. David's story isn't just his, it's yours too. And your victory might be closer than you think. So rise up, warrior. The battle belongs to the Lord, but the victory will carry your name.